The family of Martha Nichols is very proud to record this exhibition, which was given in her honor at the Eastern Shore Art Association Woolley Gallery in June 1987, entitled Martha Nichols, a Retrospective. The late Martha Nichols was a longtime resident of the Eastern Shore and was one of the original 15 artists who formed the Eastern Shore Art Association in 1952. She was a teacher at the Marietta Johnson School of Organic Education in Fairhope and later taught adult classes at the Eastern Shore Academy of Art. Over the years, she functioned in many official capacities that benefited the Art Association, and many of her works can be found in private collections in the Eastern Shore area. Mrs. Nichols once said she found inspiration from many of her teachers such as August Travioli, Cleveland Woodward, Herman Bischoff, Feldhaus, O'Hara, Gosser, and Davenport. But Mrs. Nichols was herself an inspiration to her friends as well as her students and among her peers. Of special interest to us all is the picture of mullet fishing that Martha did many years ago. It's on loan from Mr. and Mrs. Gayle Rowe. This is the beach park, a favorite theme of Martha's. It's on loan from Mr. and Mrs. Jed Irons. Next we have Rainy Day. This is on loan from Marvin Nichols. A little different approach. This is Fluster, and this is also on loan from Marvin Nichols. The Marshes, and this is on loan from Mrs. L.I. Boone. This is Gulls on the Beach from the collection of Laura Woolley Fletcher. This is Placid Stream from the collection of Marvin Nichols. Blue Vase from the collection of Marvin Nichols. Autumn from the collection of Marvin Nichols. Leaning Cypress, also from the collection of Marvin Nichols. Corner of Oak and Bancroft from the collection of Mr. and Mrs. Hal Walker. A favorite theme of local artist, Magnolias. This is from the collection of Marvin Nichols. This is Pensacola Branch, a place where we've spent many hours with the Hollinger family. This is from their collection. Fly Creek from the collection of Mrs. Judson Gray. Picnic Spot from the collection of Marvin Nichols. Bright Sunlight from the collection of Mr. and Mrs. Gayle Rowe. Bailey's Creek from the collection of Marvin Nichols. A Still Life from Marvin Nichols. This is Moonlit Snow. Many years ago, Maud Van Eisbergen asked Martha to paint her something that would be a reminder of Sweden, and this is what she did. Spanish Moss from the collection of Mr. and Mrs. John Bishop. Jonquils on loan from Marvin Nichols. After the Catch from the collection of Marvin Nichols. The Old Birch from the collection of Marvin Nichols. The Montrose Post Office from the collection of Mr. and Mrs. Jed Irons. Vinegar Bend on loan from Marvin Nichols. Contemplating from Marvin Nichols. Little Helper from Marvin Nichols. Pilings on loan from Marvin Nichols. Spanish Moss on loan from Marvin Nichols. Fun at the Golf on loan from Marvin Nichols. Golden Fall from the collection of Mr. and Mrs. Clifford Clark. I'm sorry. Tell us about it, Eloise.
Mrs. Nichols painted this and didn't ever finish it. And then she turned it over and painted another picture on the other side, equally as good. But we can't show them both.
This is Dunes on loan from Mr. and Mrs. Gayle Rowe. Go ahead. This is the picture that's on the other side from Still Life that Eloise was showing you. Wind in the Trees from Marvin Nichols. This is Old Mobile Bay from the collection of Eleanor Nichols. This is how the Mobile Bay beach looked in the 1930s. This concludes the show hanging in the Woolley Gallery. As a footnote, we would like to add that Martha has many works in the collections of people as far away as Buffalo, in Detroit, Michigan, Ohio, Gadsden, Alabama, you name it. She's got pictures hanging someplace. Thank you. We come now to the case in the entrance foyer of the Art Association building, where some of the intricate jewelry created by the late Herbert Kelly is on display. Born in 1866 in New York City, Kelly spent innumerable hours in the Metropolitan Museum of Fine Art, where early inspiration planted its seeds. At age 40, he came home and quietly announced that he would begin to work in silver and goldsmithing, work that had intrigued his mind and heart throughout those many years. Within a few years, he received commissions for ecclesiastical work from the great cathedrals of New York, such as St. John's, St. Vincent's, St. Thomas Episcopal, and then the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. His work was highly praised by all who had to do with its procurement. Kelly first came to Fairhope in 1919 and stayed for 2 years, returning to New York in 1922. He returned in the fall of 1931. Some of the chalices and ciboriums were made in Fairhope, as well as a number of pieces of jewelry. Now, speaking of the chalices and ciboriums are on display in the cathedrals mentioned earlier. His death in June of 1954 marked the end of an era of workmanship and artistic beauty that required a skill and patience that would stagger one's imagination today. Yeah. Yeah.
Got to give Martha her bottle. I'll give Martha a hug. Can you give Martha a hug? Give her a hug. Martha, can you give Emily a hug? Martha, turn around and give Emily a hug. Yeah. Turn around and wave at Papa. Put that in your mouth, sorry. I know. I think whose is it? That's Martha's juice. You think he is?
Okay, look up at Grandpa. Look at Grandpa. Look at Grandpa.
Look at that, boy.
Look up at...
Look at that. Let's have a nickel, boy. There you go. Smile, Grandpa. Show us again. Where is Grandpa?
Look at him and smile.
All right, do it again. She goes...
Look at Papa.
Nay, nay.
Hey, Grandpa, look this way, Grandpa.
Thank you.